And all the up-and-comers.
What the hell was I doing? That was a commercial.
No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show starts now.
Good early evening, late afternoon, Winnipeg. Good. Same thing, Manitoba. And for all of those listening to us live on the interweb, good evening / late afternoon to you, and welcome to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I am the host of today's show, David Manouk, or Dave Manouk, whatever you prefer. Ezzy Ginsburg, my main man, he is.
I actually prefer Ezra. I don't like Ezzy, so please
Fine,
refer to me as my formal name.
The man known as Ezra Ginsburg is to my right or left, depending on your perspective. And Drew, even though he joined us earlier, he's not so upset that he's not doing the show again, Chris. We're just allowing him to enjoy vacation time with his family. We don't know when.
At the basketball game, I have no idea who's playing, but maybe Gonzaga.
I think Gonzaga.
Yeah, but he's at T-Mobile Arena, or is it T-Mobile?
That's a good question. I think
T-Mobile behind. It's behind New York, right? You're Correct. You have a residency in Vegas, Dave. So you know you know the Strip way better than I do. I have walked the Strip with you.
That is
true. Definitely know the Strip. I stripped on the Strip, but yeah, you know the hotels. But yeah, no Drew, but he joined us for an hour this morning, as you know, Dave. And I'm sure that he's probably not too upset that he won't have to break this game down, because it's like more of the same, right, Dave? Like, they scored the power play goal, which it didn't seem like they were going to score a power play goal on that 5-minute major. We'll get into that later. Like, what a cheap shot by Blake Lizotte. I don't know how people are defending that, but look, it's more.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's kind of more of the same, right? Like, how do you not get a shot on that third period power play, right? It was the Alex Edler tripping penalty. Like, the Jets don't get a shot in a must-win game. And I realized that, we said we weren't going to call these must-win games, but the Flames just wrapped up the game against the Sharks. They won 5-3, right? So now the Flames are only 4 points back. And look, I still think the Jets are going to hang on to one of those wild card spots, but they're not making it easy on themselves, Dave.
Well, and Ezzy, it's funny that you should say that, because like this Jets team, the Kings coming into this game, I mean, it's not as if they had the top 1, 2, or 3 PK unit in the entire NHL. They actually have the 23rd ranked penalty kill unit in the NHL, and they looked like a top team against the Jets. That's just the way they looked. And the Jets have dropped like a stone. Like, it's actually amazing to think. And unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to check out where the Jets were earlier in the season, but the Jets have it's just been, like I said, it's dropped like a stone. They went from, I think, I want to say they were like, maybe not top 10, but they were like 11th, 12th ranked power play at one point to 17th. And now it's the 23rd best power play.
That's what 0 for 22 does for you, right, Dave? Yeah,
over 23. Over 23.
Sorry, 0 for 23. Yeah, and like, we've talked about it for over a month, maybe 2 months now. Like, it's really mind-boggling that a team that has Nikolai Ehlers and Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele and Pierre-Luc Dubois and Josh Morrissey and all of these really skilled players. You can throw in Nito Niederreiter, who I thought was maybe their best forward on the power play, right? Net front, and he was creating offense, right? Like, it's pretty mind-boggling. I mean, look, I don't think, anybody necessarily thought the Jets were a shoo-in to be a top 5 power play, but especially, with the slide that we've seen recently, it's hard to watch. I don't think anybody enjoys watching the Jets power play anymore. Obviously, we enjoyed the Dubois goal, but that was about it, because the other power plays, they went 1 for 6 again, right?
Yeah, and look, it's there's no place in this point of the season, Ezzy, for hollow victories, in that you can't say, well, we liked element X and element Y of our game, but overall, we need the 2 points. Cliche. Like, there's nothing to hang your hat on. I mean, you've lost, and it was just in the chat. You lost 2 faceoffs. They end up in the back of your net, and people can say faceoffs aren't important. Well, those faceoffs sure seem to be important to the Jets because 2 faceoff losses ended up in the back of your net. So yeah, those faceoffs wins or losses in this instance were rather important for the Winnipeg Jets and the way the game went. So it's just an unfortunate situation, especially given the fact that Ellie Tolvanen decided he was going to have his revenge game of his life in Nashville for the Seattle Kraken as they pumped the Predators, who we talk about had 3 games in hand coming in and still have 3 games in hand now that the Jets played. But they didn't gain any ground on Winnipeg because they got pumped 7-2 by the Seattle Kraken, who the Jets were 1 point behind and now are 3 points behind. Now, the truth is, you've got, again, Calgary, and it looked like Calgary was up to a 2-0 lead. I'm not going to do too much scoreboard watching, Ezzy, but Calgary's up 2-0 on San Jose, and all of a sudden it's 3-2 San Jose. And then, of course,
what it comes down to, Dave, is that how many of these teams have really, shown us that, they're willing to take a stranglehold on that last wild card?
Zero, none.
Like, none of these teams.
None of them.
Look at the records over the last 7, 10, 12, 15 games, right? Like all of these teams have been inconsistent. And yes, Nashville has the games in hand, but they have to do something with those games in hand, right? So I still think Calgary is your biggest threat, but I'm not that scared of Calgary considering that they almost blew a lead against one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah, and it's just, again, you need more from your best players. And Mark Scheifele, once again, I haven't had a chance, Ezzy, to look at the final number for Mark Scheifele, but I don't believe he registered a shot in the game. I mean, you're the number 1 center in theory. And how do you go? He did not, he had not 1 shot on goal today in the game. He played 19 minutes and 17 seconds. He actually played less than Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor.
5 minutes, just under 6 minutes, 5 minutes and 52 seconds to be exact on the power play, right? So how do you not get a shot on net on in almost 6 minutes of power play time? And again, it's frustrating for Jets fans. Like I used the word mind-boggling earlier to describe the Jets power play. Like I just don't think, look at is the collective psyche, is the collective soul, even though that is an actual band. I saw them live at Burton Cummings Theater. Great show.
Hashtag no big deal.
Like, you wonder like what something's rotten with this team now. And like, I've seen enough that I just don't think the Jets will flip a switch and beat whoever they face in the first round. Right now, it would be Vegas. Like it could be LA, it could be Dallas, but either one of those 3 teams, Dave, like I just don't see, like the only way I see them doing it is if, Mark Scheifele drastically improves his game. And obviously Connor Hellebuck would have to steal 2 games, 3 games in a best of 7 series. But I mean, again, whatever you want to call this game, can't lose, must win. Like I saw several people in the chat here. Where is the sense of urgency? And speaking of the sense of urgency, like I don't know how many people, in the chat here, or Dave, you were thinking about this. Dan Robertson mentioned it on the broadcast. Like, why aren't you pulling your goalie when there's 5 minutes left and you have a power play? Like, I just don't get that. Like, are you respecting, LA defensively too much? Like, and look at, if you don't want to pull your goalie and you think there's too much time left on the clock, at least pull your goalie, later in the power play. I just thought, you could put yourself in a 6-on-4 situation. So again, like your power play wasn't very good tonight, like we talked about, even though you got a goal finally. But I just thought they could have used an extra man on the look, Dave. The Jets need everything, at their disposal to get the power play goal, right? So that was just something that I thought was, I was a little bit confused by that, or I thought Bones might, pull Hellebuck a little bit earlier. But, like you said, you're not going to there's no hollow victories here. You need the points. And now, like, you've just let the Flames stick around. That's what you keep doing. The Flames and the Predators, you keep losing games and you just let them stay 4 points back, 5 points back. If they won a couple of games here, they would be free and clear of the Flames, right? Like if they're 8 points up on the Flames here,
it's done. Yeah,
you've already essentially locked up a playoff spot. Like we talked about, 82% or 83% on Money Puck. Now that's going to go down to 75% or 70%, right? So, now you're going to have to win at least 4 of your last 8 games to clinch.
Well, and there's a couple of things. First of all, it's interesting you mentioned the idea of pulling the goaltender when you have the power play. I asked Mark Morrison about that the other day because the Moose were in a very similar situation where he didn't pull the goaltender when they were down a goal and needing to tie it. Now the Jets obviously weren't down a goal, but like still, like, why didn't you pull the goaltender to give yourself that 6-on-4 advantage? Now Mark Morrison's answer to me after the first game against Rockford was, well, we have a pretty good power play, and so we have a lot of confidence that our power play can get us a goal. And if I'm seeing that something's changed or if we're not getting the opportunities, well, then I'll pull the goaltender a little bit later. That answer makes sense to me because the Jets have the Moose have a really good power play. So for the Moose, they can have confidence, right? They have a top 5 power play in the AHL, third overall, I believe. So there's a reason why he can have confidence in his group, even with the loss of Declan Chisholm. So that's kind of one of those situations. Whereas the Jets don't have that confidence. So you'd think that, you're right, to your point, you would do that. You would go in a situation where you've put that extra guy on, because right now it isn't working. Nothing is working for your team. So maybe you need to overload it because, right, like the power play, you said something about something stinks. Something stinks in Denmark. It isn't Nikolai Ehlers, though. We're not going to blame Nikolai Ehlers. But
no, Ehlers was fine tonight. Like, I thought Connor was good tonight. I mean, he clearly, you could tell the monkey's off of his back scoring a goal last game, right?
He's got to go more at the net, though. He's too many curls, too many. He's not going direct at the net. That's the problem. Like, there were at least 2 instances today where Kyle Connor has the puck on his stick, where one was like a partial 2-on-1. And he's curling back and he's waiting for the trailer, as opposed to going directly at the net. And that's exactly how he had success. The previous game was going direct at the net. And today I thought he was kind of reverting a little bit and doing that curl back. I agree with you, Ezzy. You can see he's playing with more confidence, which is what he does. But I just thought a couple of instances of him curling around back as opposed to and waiting for the trailer as opposed to going direct at the net.
And just checking out his expected goals at even strength, it wasn't good. But I mean, on the power play, like how many guys aside from Kyle Connor, Nikolai Ehlers, and Pierre-Luc Dubois are a threat right now? Like, you saw Nate Schmidt had a couple shots on the power play.
He's got to hit the net also.
Well, but I mean, look, he's shooting the puck, right? Like, I mean, we've talked about this so many times. The Jets looking for the pretty pass, the cross seam passes, and just it's unbelievable. And they should have had. Look, when your season's on the line, let's get into it right now. We won't get into the goal, but I mean, Blake Lizotte. First off, what a chicken shit move when Morrissey. Like, I didn't see this until the replay, but like Morrissey apparently dropped his gloves. Like, he was willing to go. And if you watch Morrissey at all in his pro career, Josh Morrissey does not fight very often. Like, I don't, if he has any registered fights, Dave, it's probably, you could count it on one hand, right? So Lizotte should be suspended. Yeah, I didn't see Craig Button during the intermission, but give him 5 games for that. If he doesn't get 2 games, Dave, I think that's ridiculous. But again, the Department of Player Safety, time after time, doesn't give players enough, in my opinion. But that was just a cowardly thing to do. And I don't know how anybody can do that. That's a shot to the head, and look, Morrissey could have been seriously injured there.
Oh, absolutely. And as per I'm just interacting with the chat here, Ezzy, but as per our intern who's saying something as per Ken Weeb, and I did confirm with Kenny, and he did actually as well on his own Twitter account, that it is in fact Kenny's birthday. So happy birthday to Kenny Weeb. But Bailey's telling us that Ken said Josh Morrissey said he took 7 to 8 or 8 stitches on the inside of his mouth and 10 on the outside across the chin after the cross check from Blake Lizotte.
And that's a good update from Bailey, and it just shows you how serious that was, right? Like, that's I don't care what you want to call it. It's a cheap shot at the very minimum.
Oh yeah.
And look, he could have cost his team the game. And that's what I wanted to go back to. Like, you got to score more than once on that power play, right? Like, you got to score a couple times on that power play. You have to make the Kings hurt for what they did, right? And they didn't. And yeah, Dubois gets, 30 seconds left, I think, in the power play.
Something like that.
Maybe a minute. I forget exactly.
Less.
But you need to score more. Like, a 5-minute major. That was, to me, that was the turning point in the game. Like, that and the third period power play. I mentioned it earlier when Alex Edler took a tripping penalty and the power play didn't generate a shot. Inexcusable again, but none of us should be surprised considering prior to Dubois' goal, the Jets went 0 for 23 on the power play. The power play, if the Jets end up missing the playoffs, which I got to repeat, I don't think they will, but they're in danger of missing the playoffs. The power play is going to be a huge reason for them missing the playoffs, Dave.
As I said, Ezzy, it's dropped like a stone. And the word you used, and it's the word I would reiterate here, is urgency. There wasn't that urgency. I mean, 3 minutes of a major were gone like that. And it was like, what is going on with this team? Where's the urgency? You're down. Here's like, this is like manna from heaven. Here's an opportunity for you to get back in the game. You can score 1, 2, 3. You can think about what you could do. You can break. I mean, this is a Kings team that has not been giving up goals. Rick Bowness said it before the game. They haven't given up more than 2 goals. So you know that you're in trouble. You know that if you're gonna have a chance to get back into this hockey game, you need to score on this major. You need to take advantage of the man advantage. And you're not doing that. You continue to not do that. You went in over 23. I mean, that's just it's abysmal. And the fact that Rick Bowness thinks that, just a little tweak is going to be enough. Like, no, it needs more work. It needs, like, I'm sorry, like,
that's all they should be working on in practice. Like, I'm not even joking.
Their 5-on-5 play's been okay.
Sure, they can't spend 45 minutes on the power play on the ice, Dave, but like, honestly, they should probably be spending, I don't know how much time. I mean, you might know better because you've gone to more Jets practices this year than I have.
Yeah.
But wow, it's reached like just the rock bottom. Like, we've been at rock bottom for a while now. And
you mean like our show?
No, the power play. No, our show's never been better, Dave. But look I mean, in this game, again, you were gifted a power play at the end, and just, there's passing the puck around. They just don't look confident, right? Like, it's like when they get a power play, it actually takes away momentum as opposed to gives them momentum.
That's right. And you know what? Nothing symbolizes, I think it was in the third period, the one you were talking about where they didn't get a shot, Ezzy. Nothing symbolizes how, I guess the word is inept, this power play is right now, or individual, which is one of the words I just saw in the chat, and I kind of agree with that word. When Mark Scheifele gets the puck, goes in at like 4 Kings and loses the puck at the blue line, and they toss it up.
That was in the neutral zone, right? I remember that.
He just gained the zone. He came in shallow into over the blue line, and then just kind of tried to like stick handle himself. And I'm thinking to myself, like, again, it's kind of going back to the Pascal Vincent conversations where he would be like, secret plays that only you know about and your teammates don't know what you're doing. And that's what it seemed like for Mark Scheifele. That's what it seemed like these Jets. And again, I saw the chat, and I'm sorry, the chat, normally I'm much better about getting your comments up, but with no Mindell, and, usually I'm doing, we're multitasking here, trying to get them up as best I can. But look, it's a lot of individuals. It's not a team. They're not playing like a 5-man unit. And that to me is a big problem. Well, let's get into it. Let's get into this Betway game recap, which, no surprise, it's brought to you by our friends at Betway, one of the most trusted voices in sports betting, both in Canada and all around the world. Betway is a sports betting app that puts you, Ezra, the customer, notice I said Ezra, the customer at the forefront. With a large selection of betting options in sports, as well as strong promotions and fair odds. What are you waiting for, Ezzy? Ezzy, that time. Head on over to Betway and bet your way. Must be 19 years or older to play. Please play responsibly. I went through 3 different versions.
Actually, just as an aside, that's my favorite that is used, because Ezzy has been my nickname my whole life, right? But I actually love when people call me Ez the most. That's just a little inside thing. I don't know why. I've always liked just Ez, maybe because it's only 2 letters.
Yeah.
And then I think that's always what my dad called me.
Yeah.
So anyways.
Well,
just like Dave M for you, Dave.
Yeah, I managed to use all 3. I used Ezra, Ezzy, and Ez. So I covered all the bases, first, second, and third. Well, you know who didn't cover all the bases? The Jets, because once again, a face-off loss early in the first period by, I believe it was Mark Scheifele, Moore ends up winning it back to Victor Arvidsson. Nice little set play, and he fires it home over the shoulder of Connor Hellebuyck. And the Jets, a minute 22 into this game, Ezzy, are now down 1-0.
Yeah, and really, how many times have we seen this, right? Like the Jets giving up the early goal here, and I originally, was it high? It was glove side on Hellebuyck. It's a nice shot, and we talked about it on this Saturday morning show. Victor Arvidsson, he's been a bit of a Jet killer over the years, going back to the Nashville days, right? But it's a nice shot, and like you said, this is the definition of a set play. It only takes 2 seconds from the puck being dropped during the faceoff to Victor Arvidsson shooting that, and it's in the back of the net. So again, it's a quick shot. Arvidsson's a great player. I think he's got 21 goals now, right? Something like that, 20 or 21 goals. He's replaced a little bit of the offense, along with a few other players like Iafallo that they've lost. Like, let's remind ourselves that Kevin Fiala wasn't playing tonight. He's one of their best offensive players. Sean Durzi, who's a top 4 defenseman. We talked to John Mattis this morning about Sean Durzi. I think he's a real underrated defenseman, really good player. So, I mean, 2 of the top players on the Kings, maybe not up there with, Drew Doughty when you talk about Dursey. But the point is, a top 4 defenseman and a top 6 forward weren't playing today, right? So just wanted to get that in there. And yes, the Jets don't have Cole Perfetti right now. But I mean, look, just think of how much more dynamic the Kings would be with Kevin Fiala in the lineup, right? He's been a great pickup for them. But yeah, that's a set play. And, I think that shot I would fault Hellebuck on less than the Drew Doughty goal, the goal that made it 3-1 in the third period. Like, to me, you got to stop that one. But this one is just, a nice face-off win and a really nice shot by Arvidsson.
Well, and so then it gets us into what happens the rest of the period. Well, the Jets are unable to take advantage of power plays. And that to me is, I mean, obviously they were able to kill the Neil Pionk power penalty, but Trevor Moore trips Blake Wheeler. And, as you talked about it, and we don't need to belabor the point because we kind of did in our preamble, but like, how long is this power play going to just, it's not just that you're not scoring and taking advantage of your advantage, you're killing your momentum. And that's another instance where the power play just didn't look dangerous and doesn't do anything for you other than kill 2 minutes, which again, the other night when you were killing time in the third period and not doing anything on the power play, but you were already up, that's not a big deal. But when you're in a deficit situation, you need to score.
No, absolutely. And, I've seen a few people talk about this and I agree with them, but look, Blake Wheeler is not going to be held to the level of accountability that we would like, but it's a bad penalty, right? Like, and it's kind of weird because he was tripped a little bit, and I think that's what he was pissed off about. I can't remember which Kings player tripped him, but he tripped Trevor Moore. That was a trip. That was a penalty, and you could see after Iafallo scored, Dave Wheeler comes out of the box, and you could see he was talking to the ref, and I'm sure he wasn't, letting him know, how to make the best banana bread. I think he was probably telling him that, he missed a call or he, didn't like the call. But, if you want to get into the goal here, like, first off,
you jumped ahead of you. I was still talking about how the Jets in the first period weren't able to take advantage of it. But then all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, as he's talking about the second period and the Blake Wheeler penalty, I'm like, well, that's fine. I wasn't expecting that. So I was like, you had me thinking about that for a second as I was like, well, wait a second. Are we already in the second period?
Well, and we can talk more about the first period, but, the Jets are outshot 10-0.
Well, that's kind of what I wanted to. Sure. I want to bring it back to that.
I just better in the second half, but like, I mean, 10 minutes. A period is 20 minutes, not 10 minutes. So again, hollow victories. Oh yeah, they got some shots in the second half of the first period. They got, I think 9 shots or something like that, right? Who cares?
Well, and that's why I was wanting to bring it back, because even though the Kings had that power play, I mean, I'm not saying we're not must-win territory anymore. Like, it's not must-win. This game wasn't for sure, but it was.
Can't lose. But sorry, Dave. All I wanted to say is that, I mean, the Jets still need to probably win 4, maybe 5 of their last 8. So the reason why I agree with you. Let's put a moratorium on must-win, but it's points that you need, right? Like, it's points that you need so that you can clinch a playoff spot sooner rather than later. Right. And again, the reason why these points are important is because Calgary won today. If Calgary would have lost, okay, great. I mean, we would have expected it probably because the Flames aren't very good and they love to blow leads. But that's why it's important. So all of these games are important. The game against San Jose is going to be important. They should beat San Jose because I think San Jose has 6 wins at home. 6 wins all year long at home. The Sharks are terrible. They're going to get a high draft pick. Then you got to beat Detroit. You got to beat the Devils. Like this, it's not like you're going to beat. It's not like you go in and beat Anaheim, lose to LA, and then beat San Jose, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, we can just coast to the playoffs. No,
and remember, that's 3 wins out of 4, so you could create a little bit of a narrative there.
Exactly. So what they have done is they haven't given themselves as big of a cushion as you would like. Right? Again, 4 points is not a small number for the Flames to make up, but you could have easily been up 8 points. Right. That's the point we're trying to make here. The Jets have lost points to teams that, I mean, when you're talking about the Kings are a better team than the Jets. And
ironically, I think coming into
the
this
Blues
game
is the one I'm talking about. The Blues game, if you have those 2 points from that Blues game, you're up 6 points on the Flames like they were prior to today's game. And then you're feeling a lot. So again, it's just, they seem to just love making it harder on themselves than it needs to be.
Well, and as you talked about the Kings being a better team, both teams came into this game with 41 wins. So it's interesting how but the Kings, of course, have, I think it was like either 10 or 12 overtime or shootout lost points. So, and you know what, one of the things you just said, and I wanted to touch on it because I think it's interesting, and it's kind of something we spoke about a little bit this morning, was, people say, well, they still have, we still feel like the Jets are going to make the playoffs, but the reality is, by not gaining these points, by not giving yourself the buffer, the other thing that you're doing
90
right now,
points might get you in this year, by the way.
True. Yeah. Well, I mean, the way these guys are all stumbling and bumbling, and it's like the old Chris Berman, football reference, but like towards the end zone. But the one thing that we're not we mentioned it, but I think it needs to be reiterated, is the fact that you are taking away an opportunity to bring guys up to give your other guys some rest and give those guys rest. We're talking about guys who clearly, aren't at their full health. And you could, if you actually gave yourself that cushion again, the one you created in the first 30 games, with some wins in game. I'm not saying today was a win, but in some of these games that you're not winning, that has not allowed you to rest anyone. And Connor, one of the questions from Dan Robertson to Rick Bonus before the game, was, will you ride Connor Hellebuck the rest of the way? Which, is a question I asked Ted Wyman today. And I didn't ask Ted Wyman if he would do it, because I don't think he has the power to decide whether Connor Hellebuck plays the remainders of the game. And no surprise, what Rick Bonus said was, we'll see. And we'll see,
like,
of course.
Is Hellebuck going to play against San Jose? I would bet on it.
Oh, of course. Not even a question.
And the thing is,
because they don't play till Tuesday, and then they don't play till Friday.
Exactly. So you've got a few days between the game today and the Sharks game, and then you've got a few days between the Sharks game and the Red Wings game. And to your point, Dave, what you're trying to say here, if I can just bring it home, even though I am home right now, the Jets would probably be able to play Riddick if they won today. Right? Like, if the way I look at it, like, you probably want to play Riddick against, the worst teams that you've got left on your schedule, right? And there's no worse team than the Sharks, right? No. So again, if the Jets would have won today, Riddick probably plays on Tuesday, but now because they lost, Riddick is definitely not going to be playing Tuesday.
By the way, as he is a complete sidebar, what were your thoughts about the Jets wearing the home dark jerseys on the road?
Love it. Dave, I'm old school. I like the white jerseys at home and the dark jerseys on the road. Those Kings jerseys are maybe as close to perfection as you can get. And I love the silver buckets, right? Like, how can you not like those?
Some people don't like them. I saw some people on our Twitter didn't like them, but
it was I think 2003 or 2004 when they went to home teams wearing dark jerseys, because we're similar age, Dave. Growing up, when you'd go to the old Winnipeg Arena, the Jets would always be wearing their home whites, right? So they changed that, and I don't really care at the end of the day, but it's nice to see. We didn't expect that, or maybe I'm not sure if they announced it.
No, they didn't
prior to the game.
No.
But yeah, I love to see the a little bit of it's something different, right?
Well, no, but the funny part for me, I was like, in my head, I was like, okay, well, if they can wear the darks on the road, I guess that means they can wear white at home, and I think the fans will.
And it worked. I guess they scored a power play goal, so maybe that's the key. They have to wear the blue jerseys in San Jose. It's still called the Cow Palace, right?
I don't know what.
Joking,
it's funny. Joking. No, I know you're joking, but like the funniest part
SAP,
is, like,
isn't it?
No, that's the funny part. It's not SAP anymore. It's got a new name. I don't remember what the new name is, but it was SAP for a while, and now it's something completely different. If you know what it is, let us know. Share it in the chat.
Google says SAP, but
still,
at the end of the day, who cares?
That's a good point. And you know, Desi, that's the subject of our conversation.
The corporation. I mean, every arena is named after a corporation. So,
I forgot to tell you, Ezzy, it's actually now the Illegal Curve Arena. We bought the naming rights for the next 10 years.
Nice.
But that's only for the San Jose Barracudas, not for the San Jose Sharks. So, anyways, moving on. Jets, after the Blake Lizotte 5-minute major and the game misconduct, they head to the box, and the Jets head to a power play. And for the first 3 minutes of that power play or more, completely ineffective, no urgency. And then they started to get a little bit going in the King zone. Eventually ended Neil Pionk, because of course Josh Morrissey was getting patched up in the room. So with Josh Morrissey off, it became Neil Pionk manning the back end, and he got the puck over to Kyle Connor, who feathered a pass to Pierre-Luc Dubois, who shot a puck on net that found the back of the net, and suddenly the Jets deficit, which kind of remarkably was only 2-1 towards the end of the second period.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? I liked Neil Pionk's game, and we've been talking about it. I think maybe the the corner was turned a little bit in that Nashville game. He scored the big goal, right? The game winner in overtime. But I thought, at times the second power play unit looked a lot better. And that's probably why Bones went with the second power play unit a little bit longer than you would like to see. But I mean, again, watching the replay now, Dave, it was almost exactly 30 seconds that Dubois scored the goal. But look, he's at the point, moves in a little bit. Connor puts it right on his tape. And then Dubois goes blocker side, right? So it was a nice shot. But again, that to me is the turning point in this game. Like, you had to score more goals. And that's captain obvious, but especially with your best defenseman, in the dressing room, as Bailey, talked about Kenny's quote, like, his face was bloodied. Like, so yes, the Jets score a power play goal. Hallelujah. It finally happened. But on a 5-minute major, when the season's on the line, you got to put more pucks past Eunice Corpusalo there.
And Donnie Boy, we do have to acknowledge that, as he did give the Ginsburg guarantee, the Ginsburg guarantee.
I got lucky there, guys. I mean,
no,
I would like to take a lot of credit, but I was kind of,
humble.
I was joking a little bit there. The tweet, for those who didn't see or listening on podcast, was the Jets caps lock will score a power play goal today. Look, it had to happen eventually. And like,
did it? Did it?
Well,
I'm not so sure.
I mean, I thought it had to happen. I mean, and hopefully that means, the Jets will score a couple power play goals against the Sharks, and they'll keep it going against Detroit and New Jersey. But yeah, I mean, that power play, again, not enough movement, zone entries they were struggling with, not winning enough face-offs.
Yep.
And again, I mean, you could either just say the Jets power play isn't good at this point, or you could say that if they're able to, again, flip the switch, get that power play going, I mean, that's going to really benefit them heading into the playoffs. Obviously, if they make the playoffs, but yeah, a huge goal at the time. But unfortunately, early in the third period, as we'll get into, Drew Doughty scores. And to me, game's over at that point, because it's just so deflating when the Jets had to work so hard to get that goal in the power play, Dave. And then, Hellebuck just lets in a goal that he can't let in.
Well, and just before we get into that, as like, you're right, it's absolutely deflating, because you have fought back and you are only down 2-1 to a very good LA team. And again, worth noting, it's not like the Jets were supposed to come in there, go toe to toe and defeat an equal opponent. The Kings are a superior opponent. I don't care about the wins and losses right now. I mean,
they're 2 points back of Vegas now for first.
And again, they're one of the they're, I think, the hottest team in the Western Conference right now. Now, some folks could say, well, that's not very significant given that the Western Conference isn't a very good this year, but they're still at the top of things, and they've been playing like it, and they play a team game, and they play a responsible game, and they roll their lines. And that was a pretty responsible overall game, as in, like you said, missing Jersey, missing Fiala. It's a couple of big pieces for them, and yet they continued to do what they were doing. And one of the things I should note is Kyle Connor on the goal by Pierre-Luc Dubois. He set a new career high for assists with his 47th. Something we often talk about is Kyle Connor is lauded for his good shot, but he sometimes gets forgotten as he's an equally good passer. And he has 47 assists, so he should be able to hit 50. And I know we're not, folks don't really care too much about individual success when the team isn't doing well, but still notable nonetheless. And as you said, Ezzy, getting into that third period, you're thinking to yourself, actually, I wasn't even thinking to myself. I was chatting. I was interacting with the chat. We had about, I think, 15, 17 people here in the chat during the intermission. So I was having some conversations, and folks were excited. The Flames game was kind of back and forth. Folks didn't know what was going on with Calgary and San Jose. And, but look, there was a little bit of optimism, right? The Jets were not out of this game, and they were able to stick with it despite the fact that they snoozed for the first 10 minutes of that first period. So, you're only down a goal. And again, it's not as if, you're not showing a lot of success breaking through the 1-3-1 that everybody was talking about with the Kings. And you're right, Ezzy, when you were going to have a chance to do that, you needed like 1 or 2 goals, preferably 2 in that 5-minute major. But for them to give up that third goal, and again, a clean face-off win for the Kings. And you got to give Drew Doughty credit. Like, Drew Doughty picks up that puck along the wall, sees that there's a press of humanity, and he fires a pretty good shot on net. And I agree, Hellebuck, it's hard for me to remember exactly what his angle was. like his field of vision. But it's again, it shows you people can say faceoffs aren't important, but sure was important on that play.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it was Kopitar who wins the faceoff, right? And
Yeah,
then
I forgot. Sorry, Kopitar.
yeah. But I mean, Kopitar's been doing this for so long, and Kopitar and Doughty have really had success against the Jets this year. The Jets did beat the Kings once earlier this year, but the Kings took the series 2-1. Look at like it was Morrissey and Kopitar battling in front of the net. Originally, I thought it went off of Morrissey, Dave. I'm not sure if you thought that or anybody.
No, I think
else.
in my mind it went in clean.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I it was Morrissey and Kopitar, and it's just a veteran. To have the veteran, just the
Savvy.
know-how. Yeah, savvy. There you go. I was struggling to get those.
I
words
could
out,
sense
Dave.
it. I wanted to give you an assist.
Yeah. No, we've been doing the show long enough that when I'm struggling to get the words out, Dave. But yeah, I mean, Doughty, I think, didn't see any other option, right? So he saw a little bit of traffic in front of the net and he just put it on net. But I mean, Hellebuck's got to stop that. One thing I thought, again, I'm not a goaltending expert. That's Kevin Woodley, who we have on from time to time, who writes for In-Goal Magazine and NHL.com. But I thought, Hellebuck was a little bit low there. Like you could tell, like if you look at the replay, I just have it up on one of my browsers here.
Ooh, fancy.
See,
multi-browser.
Yeah, I got a multi-browser computer here. Dave, my computer shuts off on the reg, so don't be too jealous of this computer. I'm gonna have to get a new one eventually. But yeah, I mean, it's a long shot. It's from near the face-off circle, top of the face-off circle, and it's just a shot that Hellebuck, I'm sure, he of all of the goals, and there were only 3 goals scored on him. That's the one that he's going to dislike the most.
Right, and again, as you said, as soon as that goal goes in my mind, and I think in a lot of people's minds, the game was over because the Jets hadn't shown that they had the fortitude to be able to fight back, and LA also showed that they had enough resolve to lock it down. And the Jets weren't.
And did they lock it down? I mean, how many flip clears and I mean dump ins and things of that nature. The Kings know how to, and the thing is, again, I said this morning, Dave, but I think Todd McClellan, I don't know if he ends up being a Jack Adams Trophy finalist. I don't know, who cares? I think he's just a great coach, and I just think that this Kings team knows how. Even though you mentioned it earlier, they go to overtime and shootouts a lot.
Yeah.
It's a very efficient, structured team, and that's what Todd McClellan teams have always been like that. I mean, you go back to the the Sharks days. And yeah, I mean, the Jets, just because they have been struggling so much to produce. And again, I hate to keep, harping on this, but the power play that they had with 5 minutes left is a perfect example, right? You pop in a goal there, then all of a sudden you can pull the goalie and you're only down a goal. But again, the power play goes out there and doesn't even get a shot on net. So it seems like we're just talking about the same stuff game after game. But based on, what we saw this afternoon, the Kings are a much better team than the Jets, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, and you're right. And Ezzy, that's a good point, right? With 5 minutes left to go, Alex Edler takes a tripping penalty on Josh Morrissey, and the Jets can do nothing with it. And again, I understand that people can malign faceoffs and say, well, they're not as important as da 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 da. Sometimes they're not. Sometimes faceoffs aren't, as important, and teams can win games if they don't win the faceoffs. We're not suggesting otherwise. But you have 2 instances where right off the faceoff, teams, end up scoring 2 goals. Those 2 goals don't go in. Well, maybe the game is a lot different, right? But instead it isn't. And so thank you, Dom Zappia, who of course is a big supporter of illegal curve. 33% in the faceoffs tonight, just brutal from Dom. Right. And he's not wrong, right? Because again, what a difference this game might have had, is if the Jets could have been a little bit better on the faceoffs. But think about how many different areas we could say, if the Jets were better in this area, they could have been a different game. The Jets would have been better in this area, power play, faceoffs, 5-on-5.
Well, and again, it wasn't as bad as the St. Louis game. That's for sure.
No,
like the Blues game was, I don't know if that was rock bottom this year because there's been a lot of bad games. But you lose, you go down a goal early. Yeah. And you're just not able to recover from that if you think about it, right? And yeah, you get the goal on the power play to cut the lead to 2-1, but then Doughty scores earlier, and you just didn't get the pushback. Like there just wasn't the pushback that you would like to see there in the third period. So a really disappointing game. But again, luckily you've got the Sharks coming up. The Sharks stink, and the Jets, if they play a B level game, they should probably beat the Sharks.
Well, and more importantly, as he like this game was there for maybe not the winning, but this game was something that you very easily could have, walked away with at least a point. And what a different mentality. If you fight through that, if you fight through the early sleepiness of the first 10 minutes and you walk away with at least a point in that game, kind of hang your head a little bit high. You're off. And the other thing is that the Jets are off tomorrow. It's not as if you have a tough schedule. And I'm sorry, it's the NHL. Like, I don't want to hear about tough schedules. You practice for an hour a day. You do some meetings. Like most people would dream about that, let alone the millions of dollars you get paid. You're off tomorrow. You could have emptied the tank a little bit more. And instead, these guys just didn't look like they had it in the tank. And I don't know if gas is expensive, and maybe that's the reason why they just didn't want to. They wanted to conserve their energy. I saw a comment earlier. Apparently, it's like World Conservation Day, so maybe that's why the Jets were conserving themselves. But regardless, it was not a good effort from this Winnipeg Jets team, especially like you said, Ezzy, in that third period power play. And then it was already done when Doughty scored, but then Victor Arvidsson into the empty net after the Jets had pulled Connor Hellebuck, makes it a 4-1 game. I'm not going to ask you to break this one down, Ez, because there ain't nothing to break down, because the Jets end up losing. And it's a tough loss for the Winnipeg Jets because, again, it was an opportunity to maintain your position with the Calgary Flames. It was an opportunity to gain some points on a Nashville team that is behind you, but at the same time, still has those games in hand, those pesky games in hand. And instead you drop it and you fall to, 41, 30 and 3 on the season, I think, as something along those lines. That makes sense. I don't know. Your dad's a math guy. Let me figure that out. Yeah. 40. Oh, it was game
Dave,
74.
I had trouble with grade 12 pre-calculus. So unfortunately I didn't follow in my dad's footsteps.
Yeah.
But I did get an A in linear algebra at University of Winnipeg. So I was pretty pumped about that, but I was more of an arts guy. But yeah, I mean, going back to what you said before, really disappointing, but not surprising because we've had how many disappointing games over the last, month and a half, 2 months, whatever. So, I mean, what it comes back to me is what you said, Dave. If you're able to get at least a point, that 1 point is huge here. But now you just let the Flames stick around a little bit. And now, as opposed to being, if you beat the Blues last weekend, you're at least 6 points up. And if you beat the Kings, then you're 8 points up, right? In theory. But here we are, and the Jets are only 4 points up on the Flames. And the Flames have some life. So now it just means that the Jets are going to have to, clinch a playoff spot even later in the season. And, that's not going to happen against the Sharks. It's not going to happen against the Wings. It won't happen against the Devils. It's going to happen probably in game 79 or 80 now.
Well, this is just game 74, and we appreciate all of you joining us. This is the second time you've joined Ezzy and I or Ezra or Ez, whichever personality
Ezekiel.
We're talking to at the time, Ezekiel. But regardless of who he is, I'm Dave Manouk. This is the Illegal Curve Post Game Show.
I am.
I am. We were just talking about Billy Mosienko, so that's appropriate, Ezzy. But regardless, thank you for joining us for the Illegal Curve Post Game Show. We've done the Betway game recap. I should give Betway their due. The Betway game recap, they brought to you by, no surprise, Ezra, Betway. It's simple, fun, and safe to bet with Betway. So head on over to Betway and bet your way. You must be 19 years or older to play. Ezra, always remember, please play responsibly. We have other sponsors who we have to pay due to. So we're going to throw it to commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some things like ice time, because it was a subject of conversation. Morgan Barron, whether he was going to get enough. Well, he didn't really play a lot. Saku Manalainen, why is he on the ice? Lots to talk about. Don't go anywhere. Listen to these commercials, and we'll be right back from commercial break.
Jerry Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Jon Stewart, Dennis Miller, Brad Garrett, the biggest acts and all the up-and-comers. They've all made their mark at Rumors Comedy Club, North America's longest-running independent comedy club. Rumors has kept Winnipeg laughing for over 25 years. When was the last time you laughed out loud? Make it a great night out with friends or book your office or birthday party, even a fundraising event at Rumors. Get all the details and dates on upcoming shows at rumorscomedyclub.com.
He winds up. Oh, looks like Ezzy took that one right in the choppers.
A blistering fast puck hurts like HE double hockey sticks. That's why I let the pros at Linden Market Dental Center turn my yow into
wow.
Get your brilliant smile back with state-of-the-art restorative and cosmetic dentistry from real pros.
And remember, always wear a mouth guard.
Now that's solid on ice advice. Learn more at lindenmarketdentalcenter.com. Creating smiles for life.
Whoa, Ezzy, everything okay? You look stressed.
Of course I'm stressed. We're moving, the house is upside down, the kids failed miserably at packing the fine china, and my life is in chaos. Chaos!
Yes, that does sound like a problem.
What am I going to do?
Ezzy, relax. Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage is the answer. With 60 years of experience in moving Manitobans and a track record of exemplary customer service, one call to Rolly's and your stress is gone. No job is too big or too small. Just visit Rollies.com and they will take it from there.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you, Rolly's Transfer Moving and Storage, online at Rollies.com.
Dave, my man, why are you in the car already? It's hours until game time.
Drew, it's because I'm stressed out right now, driving around downtown Winnipeg, looking for a parking spot, and I'm not finding one. I've lost Ginsburg. I don't even know where that guy is right now.
Dave, haven't I taught you anything? Do what I do. Pre-book your entire month's worth of game day parking with the Grid Park app. It's super easy to use and saves me both time and stress.
Well, Drew, I'm not independently wealthy like you are. So I'm sorry that I don't have millions of dollars to pre-book my parking month in advance. What's that going to cost you? $25?
How about $5?
Come on, $5? No way.
$5. I'm not telling you a lie. And our listeners can get a free park with the new special promo code Illegal Curve. Guess what? There's more.
There's more, Drew. You're lying to me. What more could there be?
Grid Park now has underground parking, so my car can stay warm during the game.
So wait a second. All the driving around I do, looking for parking, minus 40. You're telling me I could be toasty warm in a car after the hockey game?
That's exactly what I'm telling you. Underground parking. Just download the Grid Park app. That's GRYD Park and use the code Illegal Curve. All one word. You'll park for free your first time.
Hi, it's Drew from Illegal Curve here. Selling your home can be stressful, but it wasn't for me. Thanks to my friends at Zappia Group Realty, they made the process so easy. My home sold within 48 hours and with multiple offers. Zappia Group Realty took care of everything with their exquisite customer service and attention to detail. If you want to sell your home for more in less time, get started by talking to Frank and Mauro Zappia of Zappia Group Realty. Online at zappiagroup.com.
For 3 generations and over 80 years, Tough Duck has been making apparel that works and plays as hard as the people who wear it. From jackets to work boots and everything in between, Tough Duck's clothing can handle the harshest environments, even the Illegal Curve hockey show. Work to live, live to play. Visit toughduck.com.
Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. You can tell the time, stretches on as the sunlight as he gets a little bit brighter. For those of you listening to the podcast,
it's a
you might not know what I'm talking
day
about.
out today. I don't know if you got to enjoy. I mean, I was out there probably not as long as I would like to be, but Ruben and I were. It was great snowball weather. I was ripping a few snowballs at Ruben. Naomi wasn't loving that, and then I was knocking some icicles off of the the eaves trough and stuff like that. But spring is coming. I mean, it might be a slow. That's what always happens with Winnipeg winters, right? Or Manitoba winters. It never comes quick enough. But today was a beautiful day, and look, the sun's still out. 6:30. We've got our chat going strong here. We're going to give away a Tough Duck toque, and we have another IC merchandise winner. So things are good.
Well, and so the Tough Duck toque winner
power play is a different story.
That's true. But one of the things I wanted to talk to you about when we came back from the break, because it's something we talked about this morning and we didn't see it get put into effect. And I'm curious to know what you think as to what's going to happen on Tuesday when the Jets play the Sharks is, do we see more of Morgan Barron, which I will tie it in. I will let you announce the winner of the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment, because that ties in to my question to you. So let's bring it all together.
Sure.
Here's the winner of the Tough Duck hardest hitting comment.
Yeah, lots of good comments again today. So we appreciate everybody participating in the chat. One Bird, fun word, great name, by the way. Like this comment. This was from, 25 minutes ago. So earlier in the show. Not impressed with Bonus's lines. Each line needs one spark. Who's that on 55, 26, 81? Put Barron up at least one per line. Obviously, he's talking about Scheifele, Connor, and Wheeler there, 55, 26, 81.
I think he meant Niederreiter because
Niederreiter is on that
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
But look at, I mean, the Jets, Rick Bowness specifically, doesn't want to go Connor Dubois Ehlers, right? And we've talked about it. Ehlers, we like him better on the right side. And so there's no issue there. But Bones just doesn't want to do it, right? But before we get into it, Dave, one bird, fun word, send me an email, Ezra@illegalcurve.com. Tough Duck will ship out a toque to you. And, at least a couple more weeks of winter here. And we're in discussions with Tough Duck. If the Jets do make the playoffs, we're going to be giving away something else during the first round of the playoffs. Because, I mean, once you get into mid-April, Dave, when the regular season's over and the playoffs start, I mean, you start to, not really need a toque.
Yeah.
So we're going to be giving away other apparel from our good friends at Tough Duck. But in the meantime, one bird, fun word, gets himself a toque. You can wear it for another week or so, and then, put it in the basement like I do with all of my winter stuff.
I did see something depressing from the meteorology folks saying that I think this is the first time since the 1899 that Winnipeg, I think it was Winnipeg, hadn't cracked zero in March. We hadn't gotten above. I thought we had actually,
it's been close. It's been very close, like -3, -4. But that's what I'm saying, Dave. It always seems like at the end of March, you're expecting it to be a few degrees warmer, and you want the snow to melt. But as long as we don't get, remember the date exactly, it was April 12th. As long as we don't get a huge blizzard in the second week of April, I'll be happy. But honestly, with our weather, I mean, expect the worst.
Yeah, no, that's a fair thing. And we've already got some folks speculating as to what the Tough Duck gear will be. But you know what? Ezzy will reveal that when the time is right. Now, let's get back into that idea of Morgan Barron and, whether we've been talking about him. Seems like, we're on board with the idea of Morgan Barron getting more time, maybe reducing some Blake Wheeler ice time there somehow, some way. I mean, it's interesting, right? Like, at one point, Rick Bowness and Murat, this comes courtesy of Murat, who's in LA and on the California road trip. He said, at one point, I guess Rick Bowness was so frustrated with the faceoffs, he was sending Kevin Stenlund out to take the faceoffs, and then he would immediately switch off and get a different center on there. But because the centers weren't winning the faceoffs, that's what Rick Bowness was doing. But I mean, what do you do? Do you go with someone else in the lineup, like an Axel Jonsson-Fjällby who has fresh legs, a Carson Kuhlman? I mean, do you bring up Jansen Harkins?
Rick Bowness has said, and that I would be totally in favor of the Jets recalling Jansen Harkins and rewarding him for how well he's played for the Moose, right, Dave?
Yeah.
But Rick Bowness has said before with players like Kyle Capobianco or Logan Stanley that he doesn't want players to be healthy scratches for a long time. So if that's actually the case, I mean, I think Axel Jonsson-Fjällby probably comes into the lineup over Carson Kuhlman.
Yeah.
But like we talked about it on this morning show, the top six is got to be better. And at the top of that list is Mark Scheifele. So yes, Pierre-Luc Dubois, followed up, a good game against the Ducks. I thought with a really good game this afternoon against the Kings. He still seems to be laboring that injury. Like he doesn't seem to be, elite power forward like we were seeing earlier in the season, Dave. But it starts with Scheifele for me, because at this point in the season, I'm not sure how much offense you can expect out of Blake Wheeler, but like Scheifele has 37 goals, right? Like he was having a good year.
I think it's 38, Ezzy.
Or 38 goals. So, to me, he's if there's one player that I think is a player that the Jets need to be better and need to be producing down the stretch here, it's Scheifele. And there's only 8 games left, so he doesn't have a lot of time to turn it around.
No. And again, like I said, the other question I have though, and I understand when you're chasing offense, you tend to ride your big horses, but right now your big horses aren't delivering, right? Like Kyle Connor, again, no goal. He had the nice assist on the power play, but I mean, again, 5-on-5, like that's when you need to be able to like do some damage. And, Sakumanainen, like I question why he's in the lineup right now. 7-17 overall in the game.
And that would be the guy that I would probably replace. Like if Axel Jonsson-Fjällby, Dave, or Carson Kuhlman goes in, or David Gustafsson, right? Like David Gustafsson.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here, right? Like Gustafsson, I don't know.
Well, he played well his last couple of games.
Sure.
I mean, again, he hasn't scored yet.
Maybe Gustafsson goes in over Axel Jonsson-Fjällby because of his ability to take faceoffs
and play on the penalty kill.
Axel Jonsson-Fjällby doesn't take faceoffs and he doesn't play for the most part on the penalty kill. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they make that move against the Sharks, because as we talked about, Rick Bowness has said he doesn't want players being in the press box for too long. But last time I checked, Axel Janssen-Fjällby and Carson Kuhlman and David Gustafsson have been healthy scratch for a while now.
That's right. Yeah, Gustafsson obviously had those couple of games, but no, you're absolutely right, Ezzy. And again, this is Spencer. Those are fighting words. Don't do that here. On we drive a Gus bus, for God's sakes. You can't be saying that. I'm not even going to repeat that. It's like a swear word. What our boy Spency's saying. So I'm going to ignore that comment, of course. But the reality is, and Phyllis is speculating, and as are we. What happens if something? Will something happen between this game and Tuesday? Well, we know what won't happen. There won't be a practice tomorrow, Phyllis. They're off. The Jets are not skating tomorrow. You know who is skating tomorrow? The Manitoba Moose, 2:00 against the Laval Rocket. Ezzy, remind everybody what the game is. As I throw it to you right as you're about to.
I was sending you a message there in the chat. Sorry about that. The Manitoba Moose play Laval. I think 2:00 puck drop, right, Dave?
Yep.
And it is celebrating women in Sport Day. So a portion of the proceeds from tickets that were sold to female minor hockey teams in Manitoba, let me rephrase that. Tickets were given away for free to teams that were interested in going, but a portion of the proceeds from ticket sales will go to female grassroots programs in Manitoba. So obviously I work at Hockey Manitoba. That's huge. We have a great partnership with the Moose. So you'll be there, Dave. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to be there. I'm found out prior to the puck drop that I have strep throat. Naomi's got strep throat as well. So I will be crushing amoxicillin tomorrow.
There you go. So we're not gonna expect Ezzy to be at the Moose game because of course he's got a little bit of a cold. But you know what, folks, that's what Ezra does for you. He doesn't go on IR. He doesn't believe in IR. He stays here in the chat and he stays and chats with all of you. Now, one of you was the big winner of the Illegal Curve merch contest. Now, who was it? That was our friend. Well, every one of you is our friend, Aaron Hutchings. I actually don't. It's funny. It's not a name I recognize from being in the chat, but I believe Aaron won based on entering the unique code word, which would mean that Aaron listens at least to the podcast or watches the show, maybe is a non-commenter, regardless, or uses a pseudonym, which is also always a possibility. And I'm not going to go through the spiel. Everybody's heard Drew do it already 700 times before. You know how to enter the contest, so I'm not going to bother doing that. But it's go on the website, and there's always links. He'll explain exactly how. I sent out a whole bunch of more gear last week. I'm not quite caught up, but I know a lot of Ryan Trapp was in the comments earlier. So I'm going to be getting them out slowly but surely, folks. But as I said, Lisa Danko, Josh, her son, was in LA and Anaheim. He was wearing the jersey that she won courtesy of the merch contest. So they do happen, folks. Don't worry. I'm getting it slowly but surely. I'm whittling it down. And eventually you guys will all get your merch. Whew. Okay, but now, as you got to ask yourself, what is the unique code word? And no, I don't think anybody got it. And I like this unique code word because it ties into Winnipeg and LA. Ez, do you want to guess?
Oh, ties into Winnipeg and LA.
That's right. I'll give you a further clue. Winnipeg football.
Winnipeg football. I'm drawing a complete blank here, Dave.
By the way, Rob Mahoney is asking for a win. I'm pretty sure Rob did win and never emailed me, but I'm going to have to check my list. So, Rob, you're asking for something. I'm pretty sure either
we'll send you something, Rob. We'll send you a toque. We'll send you food.
No, I'm pretty sure that Rob won. But anyways,
Seagrams. We'll send Rob something. Yeah,
no, I'm pretty sure. It's funny. I was looking at my master. I can go down the stairs and get the master list right now, Rob. I'm pretty sure you were on it, and you made the list. I'm going to check to verify. Ezzy, so you don't have a guess?
Well,
there it is.
No, there. It's funny because when you said football, I went to I was thinking blue and gold, and I was thinking Bombers, but I wasn't sure what's the connection to LA though.
So good thing you asked that, Ezra.
Because purple and gold and gold is the.
But apparently, when the Kings first came into the NHL, their original owner wanted their colors to be royal blue and gold. So I thought, well, blue and gold, Bombers are blue and gold. Come on, it works together. It ties everything up. I thought that was a pretty good one. What do you think, Ezzy? Are you in favor of that one or no?
Yeah, no. I always like your unique code words. It's only really when Mindell is left in charge of the unique code word that we start to get he angers me. But no, I mean, you know me, love the Bombers, former season ticket holder for a couple of years with Drew. Maybe you never know. Maybe I'll become a season ticket holder again. But yeah, any reference to the Bombers, I love.
Okay, so blue and gold, BLUEANDGOLD. That is for the folks who are listening on the podcast. Ezzy, this has been a great show. It's been a lot of fun. We've had, hold on. I was going to try and wrap it up quick. I was going to try and have the perfect show, 1 hour exactly, but I'm not going to make that. I'm just not going to make that deadline, as I'm sorry.
I've realized I don't think it's ever going to happen.
Well, I think
close before, but it's never going to happen.
Well, I think the reality is this. You know, it has to, Drew's a big proponent of it happening organically. Drew likes to use the word organic.
I disagree. I don't think it's going to happen organically. I think you have to, as soon as you get to the 58, 59 mark, 59-minute mark, or if you're talking about the Saturday morning show, I mean, you have to plan that. Like, you have to start getting the sponsor reads in. You have to start thanking the guests like a good 45 seconds to a minute before you want to end. But you never know. Maybe we'll, hit the perfect show organically. But I think it's got to be premeditated.
Well, so Spency wants to have he says me and Ez, so he's using the name you like, season ticket buddies.
Well, Spency and I are going to hang out because, I mean, let's be honest, the bromance between Spency and I and you, Dave, because it all really started going back to New Year's Eve with that hot tub in Sage Creek. But Spency and I are we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna either hit up a patio or have a few beers at the Bombers game. But just a matter of time, Spency, before we tie one on.
And Dave Wheeler is in the house, and I appreciate you listening to us, Dave. Actually, Dave's got a really good podcast, Slanging the Biscuit, with Travis. And, it's funny, Travis is a goaltender, and he was playing overseas. And I watched him on YouTube. He's got a really good YouTube channel. And so if you get a chance, listen to their podcast. They've got some good stuff going on. So we appreciate Dave joining us here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. And, of course, maybe he was joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve hockey show. We've had so many shows. Now, Ezzy, I'm not going to let us... Spency had a great line. I'm surprised he didn't drop it in the chat, or maybe he did and I missed it. By the way, Kenny's water bottle is asking for a Manuk Moose minute. Kenny, I did like 20 minutes on the Moose.
Yeah. Obviously, Kenny's water bottle wasn't paying attention to the Saturday morning show, because at around 10 o'clock, I think, Dave, this morning, we were talking about last night's big win for the Moose. And we talked about that again on today's post-game show. Big game coming up against Laval. But yeah, look, I've got strep throat. I have to go, put my kids to bed and then crawl into bed myself. I usually don't go to bed early. I honestly might be in bed at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'm feeling it. So
I'm gonna quickly close this one out, because Spencer Sutton has this comment: Ford couldn't dodge the contract offer from Chevy. Now, what does that mean? Of course, it has to do with the Jets signing Parker Ford out of Providence College.
Spency's a poet.
He is, and he don't even know it. And so, Spencer, nice little reference there. That's our Seagram shot of the game. Well done from our friends at Seagram's. They appreciate that. And
I drive a Dodge, by the way.
There you go.
2017 Caravan.
Well, the Jets signed Ez, and I'm not going to ask you to tell me what you know about Parker Ford, a kid who's out of Rhode Island. Not a kid; he's 22 years old. But he grew up. I think I can't remember where in Rhode Island he's from, but he plays in Providence College, and of course, he has.
I was confused. Did he go to RISD?
Anyways, the point is, that's a good one. Yeah. He signed. He was a very, again, like I said, if this works out similar to the last time the Jets signed an undrafted free agent out of Providence College, aka Brandon Tanev, it's going to work quite well for the Winnipeg Jets and the player himself. So we'll talk about that maybe a little bit more on Tuesday, hopefully when Ezzy's feeling better. But we're going to wrap this one up because the big man needs
I will definitely be good to go for the game Tuesday night against San Jose, Dave.
Yeah.
But I just hope that you're, okay with me leaving your house after that. No, actually, I'll be doing the show here. So forget what I just said.
It'll be like 2 a.m. You'll be sleeping over if that was the case.
I'm just used to doing the show at your house, but I'll be.
No, here. I know. And Frosty, he's on it because he apologized. Now I was, really what I wanted to do, because Alex P. Keaton, aka Michael J. Fox, was in the house. I was going to start talking about the best Michael J. Fox movies. I was going to do all sorts of segues, but we're not going to do that. We're going to give
Michael J. Fox movie. Obviously, Back to the Future.
Back to the Future is the best one, but Secret to My Success.
Doc Hollywood.
Doc Hollywood is good, but Secret to My Success is a very close second.
I haven't seen that. I haven't even heard of that.
Come on, it's so good.
Check it out, though. I love it.
It's so good. As you'll come over, we'll watch it along with That's My Boy. Double feature, as That's My Boy and Secret to My Success.
And then White Chicks maybe after.
Well, fine. It'll be a triple header. That'd be fantastic. Anyways, we want to thank every one of you guys and girls for joining us tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. It's 6:45, Ezzy, so I can say tonight, as well as joining us this morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. And a big thank you to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve who make that post-game show, the Saturday show, and our website, illegalcurve.com, a possibility. They are Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Linden Market Dental Center, Zappia Group Realty, Betway, Tough Duck, Boston Pizza, Seagram's, Rolly's Transfer, Grid Park, and The Keg. Support these fine businesses, Ezra, because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. I'm losing my mind a little bit because I'm tired and I've been hosting now for, I think, about 3 hours. So it's time for me to bid you adieu and say good night to everyone in the chat and have a good rest of your Saturday night, and make sure you stay safe. Smash the like button, and we will see you guys all on Tuesday night for the post-game show.